Okay, so I'm super excited to be here in Australia. I'm absolutely loving it. I got the opportunity to go surf this weekend at Manly Beach. There's a good meter overhead. I got completely worked. It was awesome. And I'm really stoked to actually see the growing community here around crypto happening. It's been great. Met a bunch of new faces and been just having a good time connecting with everybody. So first, I want to set context. So for myself, I always try to understand where am I, what's going on, and what context are we operating in. So over the past few years, everybody in this room and in this community has created an industry. There's the tokenization and trading of digital assets is now happening globally. There's hundreds of crypto exchanges trading across the planet, trading across jurisdictions, across countries, transacting value. For example, in the last 24 hours, Ethereum's traded $8 billion. That sounds crazy, right? $8 billion in Ether and $1.3 billion in tokens in the last 24 hours. 4.5 years ago, you couldn't even fathom that. That industry's been created by the people in this room. So institutions across major enterprises are building blockchain businesses to facilitate trading in digital assets. Some of the biggest technology companies, some of the biggest financial institutions. This is happening globally. This is happening across every sector, across every industry. We in this room are creating an industry that I believe will be a multi-trillion-dollar emerging market, and it's come out of nowhere. So just as context, like, wow, where are we? I mean, it's an amazing opportunity that we've been around. So as in any industry, there's a value chain that gets to evolve over time. And it's you and me creating projects and core infrastructure that are enabling the tokenization and usage of blockchain data. It is the investors that are participating in this, that are funding our projects, that are allowing us to build and create value. It is the exchanges and liquidity providers and the market makers that allow that trade so that people can actually interact with our tokens and interact with our dApps. And because part of the crypto economic cycle is that you need to have not only the on-chain activity, but you have to have price because that's what drives crypto economics, right? So as we're watching new projects kind of emerge from the ashes of the crypto markets that we've experienced over the last year, I think it's really important to be data-driven. Look at token metrics, look at price, look at on-chain activity, look at the events that are happening, look at adoption and utilization. Don't look at Twitter. Don't look at Telegram. Don't look at GitHub commits by the number of people and projects. Or if you do, you're just going to be following the hype, and you really don't want to be the guy stuck holding the bag during the next moon on Twitter for that token. So I like to be data-driven. So I really say go look at the data before you get involved in a project or you participate in a token or you buy or you trade, right? So additionally, whether you're an institution or you're an individual, we all need to know what's in our wallet, what's in our account balances, how has our portfolio performed over time, and so price is important, right? So I'm like all day long, last year, and I still catch myself doing it pretty regularly, I'm looking at coin stats and I'm going, hey, what's the price of this token or this Ether? And I'm watching this all day long. But I'd like to propose that look and dig a little deeper. Because of the transparency provided in blockchain, dig in. Go look in the exchanges. Go look in the decentralized exchanges. Go look in your competitor's project. What bets have they made and how is that portfolio played out? Blockchain enables just insane level of transparency that's really disruptive. So take a step back from the day-to-day and go dig into the available data on chain, which will give you insight and transparency into what is happening. So because of the massive transparency on-chain and in blockchain, you can also start to go, because I've just talked about, okay, how is this relevant to me? How is this relevant to my project? How is this relevant to my portfolio? How is this relevant to the ACE particular token? But you can also say, I'm interested in a particular sector. So for example, there's a lot of talk right now about decentralized finance and lending platforms. So how do I know which one I should be a contributor to? How do I know which one I should buy? How do I know where I should try to make money off of some of the DeFi projects, for example? So I pulled out some of the data that we've been collecting over the last few years, and we compare adoption and utilization. I'm just trying to put context around where is the activity on chain. And here, what you can see here is that over the last year, the number of unique users accumulating over time for these projects. You can clearly see that DAI is out front right now with the number of unique addresses interacting with their project, as well as the adoption. Compound came up middle of the year. They've had a lot of traction. And then Dharma, you're starting to see they're coming into market and you're getting a little kicker. But without the data, how do you really know what's going on? Do you just look on Twitter? Do you read the Medium blog posts? You read what's on CoinDesk, right? You really need to look at the data to understand, to know which projects you're going to invest in, whether that be your monetary investment or that be an investment of your time to participate in the projects. So, if you look at, there's also a lot of talk about decentralized exchanges. And decentralized exchanges are going to change everything. And, so I dug in and said, hey, what is the actual adoption and utilization across some of the decentralized exchanges? And are we seeing changes in that behavior? So in the early days, we can really see that IDEX and EtherDelta, I mean, really, we all probably knew this anyways, but the data shows it. IDEX and EtherDelta really had the lion's share of the activity for decentralized exchanges. However, over time, as things have come down a little bit, we're starting to see Kyber really come out and is taking a significant part of the market and the on-chain adoption and utilization over time. So if you don't have the data, you can't make informed decisions. So I really encourage people to dig in, and if you're interested in a sector or you're interested in an area, dig in and look at the data, right? So if you think about the impact of price versus what's happening on chain, I've always thought, it's really interesting, crypto economics. The whole idea behind crypto economics that I've learned from Carl is the on-chain activity can impact price, which can drive incentives, which can drive network effects that can drive behavior. Well, having access to all the blockchain data and having price data as well, I really wanted to dig in and test some of those assumptions. So I looked for some really compelling use cases. Now, these are cherry-picked, but it's clear that crypto economics checks out. If you look at the Binance token, and you can go back in time, but there was, and see it, but there was a really, really clear indication that when they do a token burn, guess what? Price goes up because the total supply decreases, increases scarcity, that drives price up. You can also see this on Coinbase's USDC, where they're continually burning and minting the total supply. And you can see clearly, I don't know how to have a pointer here, but you can see clearly up here where they've increased the number of tokens, the price drops below $1. They decrease the number of tokens, the price stabilizes. This is actionable, real-time data. If you connect to a WebSocket and listen to mint and burn functions, that as a trader is a profit opportunity. As a person running a crypto project, that's an operational risk. You need to understand the impact of on-chain activity directly actually propagates to price, which again comes back and closes the circuit to how people behave on chain. And I love what's happening in crypto because never before have we had closed loop transparency into actual economic behavior linked back to the data. I mean, you could try to do it with public tradable markets where you have fundamentals and you have technicals, but this is actually different because the actual burning and minting of tokens on chain in events is not only a catalyst, but is the cause for the change in price. So it's really, really interesting. So the challenge, though, is that getting blockchain data and insights is hard. What I just showed you is, sorry, someone's flashing here. So what I just showed you is collecting data over the last 2 years. We've been able to, by taking market data in and blockchain data in, we've been able to do some basic analytics and provide insights into the DeFi applications for lending. So the decentralized exchanges, the mint and burn impact on price in tokens. However, getting blockchain data is not free, nor is it easy. There's really only 3 places to get blockchain data today. You can run a full node and an archival node. If you care about availability, you care about performance, you need to run at least 2. It's going to cost you between $3 and $5 grand a month today in AWS to run 2 archival nodes with SSDs and have availability. So then you need to aggregate that data, you need to index data, you need to make that available in order to build anything of any use. The second opportunity to get blockchain data is you can use the project called the Graph. It's a pretty cool idea, is that you can create a node, connect a node to a particular token, and then be able to get blockchain data via GraphQL. Now, the challenge with that is there's 3,000 tradable tokens. So if there's 3,000 tradable tokens, do I need 3,000 nodes? Just if I'm looking at tradable tokens, and there's actually 14 million smart contracts on chain. So I don't really know how that scales or how that costs, but it's an alternative. I'm greedy and I like to have lots of data, so I probably can't afford to do that. And then the last alternative is to use an API provider. So for example, Infura has done a really great service to the community, as has BlockCypher. However, their APIs are really focused on write. They don't do aggregation, they don't do analytics. So it's really about writing that data and making easy access to on-chain. So now, if you're going to use an API provider, which I clearly say that that's the best method to today get access to blockchain data, you need to know that your data is right. Because guess what? Decentralization says that the blockchain is the source of truth. So anybody like us or Infura that's aggregating data, you better make sure that's right, because the blockchain is the source of truth, not the aggregator, right? So you need to make sure that your data provider can actually validate that the data is correct. Because every time there's a block reorganization, or every 50 blocks where there's 14 to 20 uncles and 150 transactions per block, there's a block reorganization, that gets shuffled, and if your data aggregator that's providing you API data doesn't account for that, guess what? You have wrong data. So you need to make sure that you can validate their on-chain data with the off-chain data with the on-chain data. Secondly, do they actually provide you the internal messages, the delegation calls that provide you the context of orchestrated, decentralized applications that are built across multiple contracts? Most don't. So it's really, really challenging. If you want to get and build and be data-driven, getting the data is difficult. You can either do it yourself, it's expensive, or you can use an API provider. Next, the other side of the coin from all this crypto economics stuff is that price matters. Even understanding what price is across 250 exchanges and I don't know how many decentralized exchanges is difficult. Knowing what is the price, how do I connect to those? And you think about it, blockchain data without price data, you haven't closed the full crypto economic loop. You actually need that. And market data without blockchain data, you're kidding yourself if you think you're trading on price data alone. Because there's an exception when you're playing poker, is that if you don't know who the sucker in the room is, it's probably you. For people that are going out and doing trading on pumps on Twitter, or they're trading on, oh, the price went up, but they don't realize that there's mint or burn functions or things that are driving the price, they're really missing the boat. So today, last year at EDCON, we announced our free platform for blockchain analytics and monitoring. We went from 0 to 500,000 users this year in a single year. And during the Ethereum fork that happened, a month or two ago, I can't remember, we had like 40,000 users on our site free platform. We don't do any advertising or what have you using the site. Today, we're announcing a single API for blockchain data and market data. We have market data on Ethereum for 52 million addresses, 14 million smart contracts, 500,000 transactions a day, WebSocket events for every smart contract, as well as aggregation and analytics. And you can get validated blockchain data. And you can get a Merkle proof that says this data is right, whether it's on-chain and it's our data. We also provide market data across the top crypto exchanges, intraday, historical, trades, order book, aggregations of volume-weighted average price, time-weighted average price, circulating supply, and then mint and burn functions for every single token. So I would like everybody to please take a picture of this. We invite you to, we have 4 tutorials that allow you to build a blockchain explorer, a ERC20 wallet, and a dashboard that can watch mint and burn functions on WebSockets. So it's free to sign up. There's 3 tiers in our service. The first is free. Just like our current platform is free, we're trying to enable transparency and trust in the ecosystem. And then once a month, we're going to look for people who have built on top of our API, and we want to basically give a prize for the most innovative project. And we've had a whole bunch of people that have asked us about bounties. Can we contribute via bounties? So we're trying to figure that out. Come talk to us. We'd love to get ideas on bounties that you might want to work on. And then sign up for the API. It's free to use for the free tier. There's obviously a pro tier, which is about a quarter the price of running your own full node and paying for market data. So we really want to encourage people to build and make Ethereum and tokenization and this whole industry really take off and kick some ass. So that is Amberdata, and thank you very much. Come talk to us in the booth.